Welcome to Vator Box. I'm Bambi Francisco, and with me, as always, is Ezra Roizen. He's a digital media investment banker and Vator Box regular. Well, this week we are going to be focusing on technology-enabled services, specifically software as a service. So we brought in Jason Green. He's a co-founder of Emergence Capital, which is a VC firm in Silicon Valley. Jason is going to be our guest host today. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Very nice to be here.
So today we are going to take a look at Liquid Planner. So let's take a look at the pitch.
Hi, my name is Bruce Henry. I'm the Director of Rocket Science for LiquidPlanner.com. We're hosted online project management software. Our key differentiator is that we allow you to capture and manage the uncertainty in your projects so that you can build schedules that you can trust. We also do online collaboration and document sharing, and the documents go along with the projects and the work items that you're working on. We're a software as a service business model with monthly subscriptions. We launched as a service in January of 2008 at the demo conference. We've been in free public beta. We've had many happy users. We'll probably be exiting beta and beginning signing up subscription customers on a paid basis in the summer of 2008.
Did a great job. Clearly it's an older pitch. I thought he did a good job considering he only had about a minute.
As a pitch, I think it was fine. I think he summed up what he did. I don't think there was a sort of edge to it. It sounded like it could have been a pitch for almost any project management online SaaS type company, but I think it was succinct and relatively clear.
As a VC, if he were to take the elevator with you and have 1 minute, do you think you'd give him a second shot?
Probably not. I think he did a nice job articulating what the company did. What he didn't articulate was what its really unique advantage or differentiation was. Software as a service or hosted services is no longer enough to be different. You've really got to present something that's compelling and unique.
A delivery model is not a differentiator.
Okay. Well, so project management software that offers teams a complete project environment, rich social networking features. What about the novelty about the
I think
offer?
that a couple things. When I co-founded a company in the early 90s that did project management software on a network basis, not on a SaaS basis. And it's a very tricky category to get right. At the end of the day, you got to really strike the balance between something that is so methodologically rigorous that it becomes very cumbersome and difficult for the users to use, but yet has a lot of business logic and value in it because it helps guide people through managing projects. At the other end of the scale is something that is so unrigorous that doesn't really add much value and ends up being just sort of a supplement for Microsoft Office or Excel or other Microsoft project or the sort of thrown together project management tools and email, which is essentially how most projects are run outside of a structured system. So if you're going to put in a structured system where people manage projects, you have to find a very useful balance where it doesn't become sort of project overhead and something that isn't essentially additive to the process, but its own little thing that has to be managed. And that's what we struggled with, was how do you strike that high utility but low overhead balance as a project management tool.
What do you think, Jason?
Well, I'd agree. We as a firm are very focused on software as a service, and we actually mapped out the entire software industry and went after the largest categories of existing enterprise software with trying to back what we consider the leaders in each of those segments. Project management is a big category of software, but it's not an area we chose to pursue proactively. And so I admit I have a little bit of a negative bias towards this space in general, just because of some of the issues that Ezra mentioned. But in addition to that, what we find is the SaaS opportunities that are kind of disrupting large existing markets really have to bring, as I said, something uniquely different to the table other than just taking enterprise software and putting it on the web. To give you an example, a company like SuccessFactors, which we backed in HR, is not simply taking PeopleSoft and trying to put it on the web. They're really changing the whole paradigm of how you manage your talent in your organization. And the only way you can do that is through this online service.
And you backed Salesforce too.
We did back Salesforce as well.
So what would make you interested in this company? They went in to pitch you.
I think that they need to kind of repurpose a project management capability into solving a real business problem. And I would actually go the route of putting more structure around a particular industry. For instance, going after healthcare and saying we're going to structure or or pharmaceutical research and say we're going to structure the process of getting a drug from discovery
Right.
to development and put all of the bells and whistles around it. And that is a very large category of enterprise software. It has a lot of domain expertise. It's not just
Right.
a tool. It's actually knowledge of the best practices of an industry and how to make that happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at the end of the day, you will find, because even things down to like nomenclature and how what people call things and how you structure and how you set up and configure the system and how you even get the little drop-down fields to make sense. I mean, everything
Right.
has its own methodological basis, and the extent that you can bring an industry expertise and you can bring that in, it also helps in the sales cycle because you can now sort of contextualize the product to the customer environment and say, this will really help you because it will do these things and manage this team in this way in your environment, versus here's something, go set it up, hopefully it works for you, and hopefully our process matches how you do things.
Right. It does look a little bit broad. At least they
Right.
don't say that they're focusing on any particular industry. Should they go large or small?
Right.
My sense from this pitch is that it's actually a smaller, sort of small to mid-sized businesses as opposed to large corporations.
Which is tricky because then you got
Pound gorilla there, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. You got a lot of other people who focus on that space, and also you have the question of, as the projects get smaller and as the teams get smaller, the fundamental value of what this brings, which is a broad collaboration system, diminishes, and so you get sort of the value balloon begins to shrink rapidly in terms of what you're actually bringing. So I would recommend actually going to bigger companies and really trying to find substantial emerging project problems that you can solve, where you can bring a fair amount of business logic, as Jason said.
Is that your advice? So we're going to wrap it up there. Advice for the company?
I would go
Is it-
bigger, be wary of the land and expand business model, and go for big projects you can sell in big packages to big companies and solve big problems.
And then that's also the business model then, in some sense. I mean, price it for big companies and focus on
Do a
them.
few go for bigger sales, medium sales early on, and bigger sales later on.
Any advice?
I think bigger and deeper into a business problem is the right call here. I like, in general, the idea of kind of maintaining a lightweight way of trying the product initially. So this kind of freemium model they're talking about does make sense to me.
It does.
But you've got to be able to deliver something of significant business value you can charge for it down the line.
And focus on some area of expertise.
And there have been some successful companies and some exits in this category, and so I think I knew you were going to ask me that. NetSuite just bought the professional services company. I forget their name. OpenAir, yeah. And there was Oracle bought. I forget the name of the company that Oracle bought not too long ago. There actually have been a series of exits that we could dig up for these guys.
100 million, under 100 million.
Well, actually, I think the OpenAir one was basically a VC money back type deal. It was like a $20 million deal. It wasn't a huge deal. But there have been some. The guys that Mercury bought a few years ago, I think that was a pretty substantial exit. So there are half a dozen comparables you can pull up in this category.
Hey, look, so that's all great advice, and for Liquid Planner, I mean, this is free advice for them, so they could do what they want with it. Jason, thanks for your insight and thoughts, and Ezra, as always.
I'll leave a comment on this episode with some of the exits.
Yeah, we need to do that. You too, Jason.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been watching Liquid Planner on this Vator Box, and you've been watching Vator Box. I'm Bambi Francisco. We'll see you next time on Vator TV.